Africa will not kneel. Traoré's UN speech shocks the West and defies neocolonial power. Can you imagine standing in a room filled with the world's most powerful leaders, knowing that every eye is on you, waiting, skeptical, even hostile, as you prepare to speak words that could shake centuries of silence? That was the moment for Ibrahim Traoré, the young president of Burkina Faso, as he stepped onto the grand stage of the United Nations General Assembly. His heart was pounding, but his voice was steady, carrying the weight not just of his country, but of a whole continent longing for respect, dignity, and justice. The hum of whispers filled the colossal hall, the scent of polished wood and expensive cologne lingering in the air. Traoré took a deep breath and looked out at the sea of faces, some cold, some curious, others dismissive. He wasn't just here to speak. He was here to break a cycle, the cycle of neocolonialism, exploitation, and misunderstanding that had long shackled Africa. But behind the political gravity of this moment was a story few knew, a story about kindness, hope, and the quiet power of human connection that had shaped the man who dared to defy the West. 2 years earlier, Traoré had walked the dusty streets of Ouagadougou, his own city, far from the polished halls of diplomacy. The air smelled of dry earth and distant rain, children's laughter echoing from schoolyards where dusty balls bounced unevenly. He was just a young officer then, but already he had a vision of a strong Africa that stood tall and proud. One day, while visiting a local market, he noticed an elderly woman struggling with heavy bags, her face lined with years of hardship. Without hesitation, Traoré stepped forward to help, lifting her burdens with a gentle smile. "Thank you, young man," she said, her voice trembling but warm. "Not many stop to help these days." It was a small moment, almost invisible against the backdrop of global politics, but it stayed with him. It reminded him that leadership was not just about power, but about kindness, about lifting others, so they could rise with you. But the road ahead was anything but easy. Burkina Faso was grappling with violent insurgencies, economic hardship, and the ever-present shadow of foreign interests seeking to control its resources. The Western powers often dismissed African voices as unprepared or irrelevant. Traoré knew the stakes, not just for his country, but for the dignity of an entire continent. His fears weighed heavily. Could he truly change the narrative? Could he make the world listen? Then came the unexpected. During a tense meeting in the capital, a young American journalist, Emily, arrived with questions, but more importantly, with genuine curiosity and an open heart. Unlike others, she listened, really listened, to Traoré's story. She saw beyond the headlines to the man who believed fiercely in justice and humanity. One afternoon, after a long day of talks, Traoré found Emily sitting alone in a modest cafe, her notebook forgotten as she gazed out the window. He sat beside her and shared stories not of politics, but of hope, of the small acts that had inspired him, like a schoolteacher who stayed late to help children read, or a farmer who shared his last meal during hard times. Emily was moved, and in her heart, a seed of respect took root. Their friendship blossomed quietly but powerfully, reminding Traoré that kindness could cross borders and break down walls built by fear and misunderstanding. It was this connection that strengthened him as he prepared for his UN speech. On the day of the speech, as Traoré took the podium, he remembered those moments, the woman in the market, the teacher, the farmer, and Emily's unwavering belief. His words came alive, not as a political manifesto, but as a call for humanity. "Africa will not kneel," he declared, voice ringing clear across the hall. "We are not here to beg for permission to exist. We are here to demand respect, to seek partnership based on equality and kindness. Our strength is not in our resources alone, but in our people's hearts. their courage, their resilience, their hope. The room fell silent. Cameras flashed. Some leaders shifted uncomfortably, others nodded slowly. But the most profound impact came not from power plays or rhetoric, but from the ripple of kindness embedded in his message, a reminder that dignity begins with seeing each other as human. In the days that followed, a remarkable transformation took root. International aid programs shifted toward genuine partnerships. Young Africans began to share their stories globally, and even skeptical Western diplomats found themselves rethinking old biases. Traoré's speech was more than a political moment. It was a beacon of hope. Back in Ouagadougou, the elderly woman from the market watched the speech on a small, flickering television, tears streaming down her face. "My grandson," she whispered, pride and hope mingling in her voice. "He is changing the world." And so, dear viewer, what can we learn from Traoré's journey? That even in the face of overwhelming odds, kindness is a revolutionary act. That hope is not naive, but necessary. And that every small gesture, helping an elder with their bags, listening with an open heart, sharing a meal, can build bridges strong enough to move mountains. If this story moved you, imagine the power if we all shared our own acts of kindness. So please, take a moment now. Like this video, share your kindness story in the comments below, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of our shared humanity. And before you go, watch this next story. It's about a stranger whose simple act changed a community forever. Because kindness once sparked never fades. Remember, Africa will not kneel, and neither will hope.